name is Jamie Rue, and today I'm going to talk about how I fell in love with reading. Okay, so first I want to apologize for not having posted a video in so long. I've been having some technical issues because my laptop just has zero memory, so it's impossible to edit videos. I'm going off to college in a week, and I wanted to talk about how I became the person I am, I guess. How I became a person who is standing here in front of you, in front of a giant bookshelf, about to go to college and hopefully major in English. I want to talk to you about how I became this person. I owe that to a particular book series and to a particular person. Growing up, I wasn't necessarily the biggest reader. I liked reading to some extent. I liked certain series and whatever. You know, there were a whole bunch of these series, the Secret series and the Dear Dumb Diary series and those fairy books, Magic Treehouse books, you know, that kind of stuff. I read those kinds of books, but I wasn't going out of my way to read books. And going into 6th grade, I was assigned The Lightning Thief to read, and I loved that book. Even still, I didn't want to go out of my way to find things to read. 6th grade was still a time where you're assigned really stupid book projects, like make a poster or make a book cover or summarize this book, do this project with this, you remember them. And I'd used 3 Percy Jackson books for these already, and I couldn't use another one because I just used The Lost Hero, and that was the only book that was out at that point, so I couldn't use those again. My whole 6th grade class, we went to the library to look for a book for this book project, and I spent the whole period walking around, not sure what to get because I didn't want to read anything. I even asked my teacher if I could just reread The Lightning Thief, to which her response was clearly no. But there was 10 minutes of period left, and I was like, I don't know what to do. So my English teacher had a student teacher at that point. I'm gonna call her Miss S for the purpose of this video. She was like, I know exactly what you should read. So she got up, walked to a particular part of the library, pulled out this book, and was like, here, you should read this. And I just was like, no, I don't want to read this. I don't care. I don't want this. I think these books are dumb. I think the movies are stupid. I think anyone who likes these are dumb. I don't want to be one of those people, I don't want to be one of those fangirly girls who fawn over guys with abs and debate about whether they're part of Team Edward or Team Jacob, because this book with the black and the swirly font and the pale hands and red apple, I just didn't want anything to do with it. I wanted nothing to do with the Twilight series. Clearly I didn't say that to my teacher. I said something more along the lines of, I'd really rather not. She said, oh come on, just read it, give it a shot. If you don't like it, you can always return it, blah blah blah. And because I lacked any and all social prowess, because the period was almost over, because I had trouble saying no to people, I said I'd read this book. And I took it, I checked it out, I complained about it for the rest of the day to all of my friends. I complained about it to my best friend when I went over to her house and to her mother. I complained about it to her mom. When I got home, I got in bed and got in bed. I wasn't going to sleep. Opened the book, started reading, and didn't stop reading until it was 1 or 2 a.m. because it turns out I loved Twilight. I loved Bella, I loved Edward, I loved their story, I loved the writing and all of the heartache of forbidden love that I hadn't ever really read about before. This was also the longest book I'd ever read in my entire life. I loved Twilight. I loved everything about this book. So I ordered all of the books on Amazon, and then the next day I went to the library and checked out all of the books and read them all that week. I went to midnight movie premieres, and I went to movie marathons, and I bought a crap ton of memorabilia. I have 3 copies of Twilight in my possession right now. I loved this series. This book series, it wasn't just that I loved it. It was that it did something for me that no other book had ever done. It made me want to read more. Not just that series, even though I did read Twilight literally over 50 times. I counted. I was a little bit of an obsessive child. I started reading all of these books. I read the Mortal Instruments series. I read classics like Romeo and Juliet, which I hate, and I also read Wuthering Heights, which I hate, but I read Gone with the Wind, which I don't hate. All of these books that you see around me that I keep looking at, I would not, under any circumstances, have acquired this many books if I hadn't fallen in love with the Twilight series. I didn't own this many books in 6th grade. I barely owned like a shelf full of books. I wouldn't have spent like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on books if it wasn't for Twilight. And maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. And I wouldn't have started writing if it wasn't for Twilight, because I got into Twilight fanfiction, and that's how I started writing. I started reading fanfiction and I thought it was amazing. I still read fanfiction. I read more of it than I read actual books. Some of those are just not about Twilight at all. They're basically just using Bella and Edward's names and writing stories, and I loved that. I started reading fanfictions and I'd want to correct them, and I'd be like, you know what? Like, I think I could do this. I think that I can do this, and I think I could do it better than some of these people. I was a cocky little 7th grader. And so I tried. I wrote a fanfiction and it was god awful. It was the worst. It contained a sentence that was like, the diamond sparkled on her finger in the sun like me, or something like that. I don't know. It was bad. I was in 7th grade. What do you want? I was like 12. And it was awful. It was the worst. But like, it was exciting and people would tell me that they liked reading it. So I just kept writing more, and I made another one and another one. And you know, I never actually finished any of them. I was one of those authors. I'm very sorry to anyone who actually did read one of my fanfictions. You know, I'm not necessarily proud to call those mine, but it led me to a point in my life where, as much as I loved that world, as much as I loved writing in it, it wasn't enough anymore. It wasn't enough for me to be writing in the Twilight universe and to be using Bella and Edward over and over and over again. I wanted to create my own characters with their own flaws and their own quirks and their own insecurities, and I did. So in freshman year, I decided that I wanted to try doing exactly that, and I wrote a novel in a month. I've done that every year for the past 4 years because of this book. I wouldn't love reading, I wouldn't love writing, I wouldn't be about to go to college and major in English, I wouldn't be this person on this channel, I wouldn't get to rant about books or like fangirl about books with my friends. I would just be an entirely different person. As many flaws as I have, and as much as I sometimes don't love everything about myself, I like the fundamental person who I am. I love this person who wants to be a book editor and work at a publishing house. I wouldn't be that person without Twilight. So as much as I used to get made fun of for liking Twilight, and as much as people might say that Twilight is problematic and not well written, both of which I now agree with, as much as people don't like Twilight and say stuff to me about it and make fun of me and tease me for it, Twilight is the reason that I am the person I am today. And for that, I'll always, always love Twilight. And I'll always be grateful to Miss S for insisting that I read it. So this is a new end screen thing that I'm trying, but I just wanted to make this video, I guess, to tell people that what you like shouldn't matter to other people, and if for some reason it does, you should keep liking them anyway, because you never know how it'll end up influencing your life. I never would have guessed that I would end up an English major, but here I am. Hopefully I will see you very soon. Alright, bye!